Today, I'm going to build the craziest creeper farm you've ever seen. It took me well over 700 hours to build all this. All while done only on one life. This is the story of how I got all the gunpowder I could ever need in my hardcore worlds. I have a bunch of huge projects that I want to complete, and all of these include clearing a large area of space. The fastest way to clear out all these areas would be using TNT. For the recipe, it takes 5 gunpowder and 4 pieces of sand to create 1 piece of TNT. Now, what most people do is they dupe this single piece, where they trick the game into thinking that this one piece still exists after using it, so it never actually gets used while they still get the explosion. And they can infinitely use this one piece of TNT. However, I don't really agree with this, so I don't dupe TNT. Going back to the recipe, you could tell I would need an insane amount of gunpowder just to do the same scale of projects without duping TNT. And this is where the plan comes in. Using a farm designed by Logical Geek Boy, I plan to get around 75,000 drops of gunpowder an hour. The way the farm works in simple terms is there will be many platforms throughout the farm, and every platform will have a cat sat in the middle. The creepers are scared of cats, so when they spawn in on the platform, they'll run to the edge and fall down into the water, which will then push them into the nether portal, and once they're in the nether, they'll fall to their death. And each creeper has a chance to drop 0 to 2 bits of gunpowder when they die. So how did this project take over 700 hours of work? Well, to get the most amount of drops possible, there's a lot of work to be done. This mountain right here is where I'm going to build the farm. And there are hostile mobs in Minecraft. These are things like creepers, skeletons, spiders, zombies. Basically anything that will attack you. What I need to do is make sure there will be no mobs within this range, so the only mobs that will spawn will be the creepers in my farm. The way to do this is going to be by removing all the blocks inside this mountain without any TNT duping. As you can see, these caves are filled with mobs, and by mining it out, I will ensure that there will be no single place left for them to spawn. You may be wondering, why don't I just build this high in the sky? Now there's a catch. Mobs spawn first at the bottom of the world, so the lower the farm is, the quicker it will spawn and kill the creepers. So the first thing I did was remove this entire mountain. This process took over 500 hours, and I mined over 4 million blocks and used up almost 100,000 TNT. If you want to see a more detailed process about this, make sure to check out my 1000 day series. But for now, with some movie magic, I can click my fingers and this mountain will be gone. There you go, minus 500 hours of my life. What you see in the middle is the core of the creeper farm. While digging out the perimeter, I built up the farm, which provided me with the TNT to clear the area faster. To build this farm, I followed Logical Geek Boy's tutorial, and I added more platforms with more cats to make it faster. I then added some basic decoration around the farm, going with a more modern look. Now it's time to make this the greatest build you've ever seen. My plan with the decoration was to fill the entire space around the hole. I wanted to build circles of vibrant grass going from the outside of the circle to the middle, almost like steps connecting to the central creeper farm. After trying out multiple designs, I settled on this design. I then just completed this design all the way to the top of the circle. Each layer for now, I just filled it with grass, creating that step idea I had in my head. While building this, I had to take a detour because I kept running out of green dye for the cyan terracotta. Since it required blue and green dye to make cyan, the best way to get green dye is to smelt cactus. So I quickly built up a cactus farm in one side of the wall of the creeper farm, and added some decoration using kelp blocks to hold up the cactus, and a really cool design with the back wall. I went with a hobbit hole design for the bottom section to make it feel cozy and have a nice view when I was collecting the cactus. With that side quest now done, I had all the cactus and green dye I could ever ask for. So I crafted up the rest of the cyan terracotta and made sure all the top section of the hole was filled in. The next problem I had was now the hole looked weird. There were layers of grass floating above my head when I stood inside of the hole. It looked great from the outside, but from the inside, it needed some work. First, I want to hide all these beacons. They look pretty ugly and stand out like a sore thumb. So I'm going to make these pillars around every single one and make it look like these are holding up the top section I just created. There's 12 different beacons, so I got to build 12 different pillars. Okay, that's looking pretty good. The only problem now is I can see the grass bit sticking out. So my next plan is go through and hide all these with dark prismarine slabs just to make the whole area look a lot tidier. Now for the edges, I'm going to put a wood frame to add some structure and then fill in all the middle sections with a random spam of deep slate blocks, just to add some different textures in there. It's also very dark, so I think some redstone lanterns will work well for lighting. For me, when I'm building these huge structures, I think even the small details make a huge difference. This took a few real life days of building these walls all the way around, but look how they turned out. However, the whole design is still not finished. You may have noticed I left some gaps on 3 of the sides. I have a plan to fill in each one of these, which I will reveal later throughout the video. The first one I want to build on this side is going to be a bamboo farm. Bamboo is very useful in the scaffolding recipe, and I never seem to have any bamboo lying around. This was a pretty simple build. I went with the same palette as the cactus farm, then placed a bunch of minecart tracks underneath so I could run hopper minecarts, which are able to suck up items through a block. Next, I built a redstone fly machine, which would push blocks across to break the bamboo, putting all of the drops on the floor, and then the minecarts would come through and pick them all up. I did this exact same design for the other side, so I get more bamboo, and then cleared out the area above. With the area above, it would work with the exact same mechanics, except this time it would be for sugarcane. The reason I need sugarcane is using 3 pieces of sugarcane in a line, you can make paper. Paper is extremely useful with a creeper farm because combining the gunpowder drops with the paper makes rockets, which allows me to fly as much as I want with the elytra. So I built up the sugarcane farm in the exact same style, that way I could get all these drops too. Then I added some final finishing touches to both of these farms, with the sugarcane farm above and the bamboo below, connected together with the water elevator. This side quest was complete. It was then time to fill in the next space on the next wall. This was going to be the largest kelp farm I could possibly build. You might be asking why. Well, this will be to flex that I have all the kelp I could ever want. I first cleared this area using some of the TNT from the gunpowder farm drops, and then quickly built up the sides with 4 huge glass tanks either side. Again, using the same mechanics of the flying blocks moving across and breaking the kelp blocks, this farm was quickly completed. Then I added in some final touches to make this room look fancy, and another side quest complete. To finish off the final side of the creeper farm area, I wanted to create a tunnel to the end portal and make it big enough so I could fly down the tunnel and get there as quick as possible. I first cleared out all the deep sea and laid out a plan for the tunnel. For this, I wanted to use a unique color palette. I went with using blocks that you can get from the end and stripped warped wood as the outline. The tunnel came out interesting. I actually really like this design. It was out of my comfort zone trying these wild color combinations. If there's anything you think I can change to improve this, let me know in the comments down below. But with the tunnel completed, it just led to the undecorated portal room. It's time to spruce this up a little bit. Since it's the creeper farm, for the walls, I made some creeper faces, and since it's leading to the end, I mined a space below and made a fake end island. And I put some creepers inside to also make it look like they were trapped on this island. Now all I had to do was some finishing touches on the creeper farm hole. I started out by making pathways all the way around so that all the farms on every side were connected together. And then I built some bridges around the top so that I could have a walkway between each of the pillars. Now that the inside of the creeper farm is completed, I just have one final bit to do, which is the top section. I first connected the wall up higher so it went above the water, and used glass so I could have a nice sea view. Then built a fake mountain over half the circle, almost like an amphitheater, so that I could allow light still into the top section. And then I added some staircases so it was possible to travel between each layer without having to fly around. And finally finished it off by adding rows of moss carpets across. This was mainly to stop the slimes from spawning, but it also looks really nice as well. And that is the story of how I made the craziest creeper farm in hardcore Minecraft. If you guys want to check out more of the details, check out the 1000 Day series down below. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.